your sense of the issues that are important to Quincy residents?
Well, I think they are the issues that are important to everyone in the Commonwealth. First and foremost, it's about jobs and the economy. That clearly is driving everything else right now. And, that's something that's very difficult to deal with. I'm fond of saying we can get here in a year or two and we're not going to get out of this situation easily as well. But clearly we need to focus all of our attention, a lot of our attention, on trying to build the economy and create jobs and give people some sense that there's an economic future here and that it's going to work. And that's the whole range of young people, people in the middle of their careers, people who are retiring and concerned about their ability to retire, the whole issue around home values, losing homes, all of these all tie together. And in particular in Quincy as well, there are of course the issues of redevelopment, and this is a city that's redefining itself from what I can see and reshaping itself. And that's something that I think is really encouraging and something to be optimistic about, but that's going to take some time. And clearly in this economy where it's tough to get big chunks of private investment, it's going to be difficult to do that, but we need to get ready, I think, for what will come. Because this state, as the governor's fond of saying, this state is among the 50 in the country is recovering faster than 48 other ones. And there's been a lot of, I think we are well positioned once the recovery sort of returns or starts to take advantage of that. And I think Quincy would be well positioned to be a big part of it, it seems to me.
As a congressman, we mentioned about the redevelopment of Quincy. There's also everything from the widening of 139 in Marshfield to the Southfield development.
Right.
What do you think as a congressman you can do, or what kind of leadership? I know Congressman Delamain was very involved in some of those things. And what kind of local knowledge, where do you see the growth opportunities, especially for kind of Plymouth on up, which might be a little bit different?
Right. Well, I think, Plymouth on up is tied to Boston, and it's tied to the city, it's tied to the state's whole economy, it's tied to the national economy. You can separate some parts of it out, some parts you can't. So clearly, as Boston goes, as the Commonwealth goes, that will in fact help growth and development and economic prosperity in the South Shore. But clearly there are specific projects that need to be focused in on. And I as a state legislator, I've been involved in issues in the region I represent, and I've seen opportunities when they occur. And you don't always know where they are. You don't know when they're going to surface. But when you see them, you have to recognize them, and you have to take advantage of them. And let me give you an example of one I was involved in, and then we can come back to Quincy on this issue. But at one point, we did a life science bill initiative in this state, put aside $500 million in state investments for the life sciences. And I had a group come up to see me, and of course, I'm representing the Cape and Islands. And they were commercializing some of Woodhull and MBL's scientific activities. And they were looking for an earmark in the state budget for $13,000 to help them sort of just organize and maybe turn some of that into some commercial value. And I'm sitting there in the office and I'm saying, as that bill was moving forward, I was struck by the fact that most of the benefit of that bill was going to go to communities in Worcester, mostly Worcester, and Boston and Cambridge. And of course I represented at the time the Cape and Islands. So I'm sitting there listening to them and I'm thinking, we need to do something better. And I asked my staff to pull up the bill. We knew it was coming out in a week or two on the Senate floor. And I looked into the definitions of what was a life science. And thought, that's interesting. Sat down and rewrote the definition to include marine science, marine technology. Went down and saw the chairman of the bill, which was Jack Hart from South Boston. I said, Jack, would you consider redefining that definition? And he said, that's an interesting idea. That went into the body of the bill. It opened up $500 million to the community, to institutions in the communities that I represented. We just this past week, I was with Bill Delahunt, week before last, with Bill Delahunt, and then 2 weeks before that with Bill Delahunt and John Kerry. We were at the Marine Biological Labs. They were opening up a new lab. They had leveraged with some of the state money that came through that grant, $25 million from the Hughes Foundation. They built a whole new lab system around regenerative science that's going to really be a breakthrough bit of business. It created construction jobs, created science jobs, and it might create some life-saving, in the long run, life-saving technology.